Hi, this is Isabel Litzler, the place to be to develop your skills and grow your potential. So today I'm going to address how do you work out your freelancer business if you have a non-EU or EU nationality. A lot of you may be interested in hearing about this. That's why I wanted to take this email that I received and make it public so that it can help a lot of people. Of course, I'm going to keep the person details private, but I thought the item or the subject was interesting. So this is a message I received from somebody who is of Indian nationality working as a business consultant in Italy. And he says in his email that he's about to start a freelance position as a liaison in Zug. So a non-EU national starting a mission in Zug. And he's asking about the process, for the work permit mostly, and how to get that going, and whether it would be easier for an Italian national, so maybe he knows a colleague of his in case he can't take the mission. That's how I understand it. And he's thanking me for my feedback. So taking on this email message here. So what are some of the important things? So number one is when you're a freelancer, non-EU based in Europe, is that helping you for the Swiss market? The answer is no. Because the Swiss market looks at your nationality, not where you're based, even if it's close. So even if you were at the border, but you're non-EU, you see, they still retain the fact you are non-EU. So you have to understand. So the first thing I want to talk about is the 3-tier process. So the first one is anyone who's local or Swiss. They're the local, so they're usually where the employers will go to find talent. Then the second tier would be anyone based in Europe, because again, Switzerland is not part of Europe, but there's a flexibility to hire people from European countries, especially if it's a hard to find type of skill set. And only then, if they can't find anything with the first or second tier, they would look at non-EU. So again, it's not necessarily easy when you're non-EU to get through the door. Now, some people may get opportunities via their network, and it could be that, which I think is the case here, where you strike an opportunity maybe through your network where someone says, hey, I would love to have you on board. I think you're talented. I want to get you in, but I have no idea what to do in terms of work papers. Please help me with this. So if this is the case, that means your employer needs help. Now, the thing is, when you hire someone who's non-EU based in Italy, the person is still non-EU. So if you bring in, so you have multiple problems that I can see here, and please check with employment lawyers because it can get very tricky. The first problem that I see is that if you're relocating to Zug and you're going to be there almost permanently and working 100% of the time, you're not fitting into a freelancer status. Freelancer status is very clear. You do not have only one employer. You have multiple clients. So if you get to the point where you're only working for somebody for a period of time, you become their employee, and you shouldn't be getting a freelancer type of income, or they shouldn't basically pay your bills. Now, I know it's a blurry area. I know a lot of employers do that to reduce the cost because it's cheaper to hire someone as a freelancer than it is to hire someone and pay them benefits, etc. But you have to be aware that it's a very gray line, and that could also hurt you as both the business and you to have you work full time when you're a freelancer under the same employer. So just be careful about that, and also it's going to be tough for your employer to get a work permit for you. Well, first of all, because you're not going to fall into the criteria of a freelancer, and second of all, you're not supposed to be working for only one employer. So there's multiple things here that I see that I'm not going to go through. Basically, it's just not going to be a straightforward type of thing. Now, if you stay in Italy and you work long distance with this client now, and you have other clients and you just bill them monthly, then I think it's an easy solution. The other easy solution would be for you to go on a platform like Upwork or freelancer.com, and your employer or your client to go on there too, and you work through the platform and you get paid via the platform. So it's almost like your employer is the platform and you're just servicing your client that way. So it's a way where you're not direct. So there's going to be some fees obviously that are going to be applied, but it's making things easier for you to stay in Italy where you are, employer stays where they are, and you just work through the platform, and maybe you have video calls to do the work. So you're not bothered with this whole relocation where you have to justify things. And relocating physically to Switzerland includes a lot of processes indeed, with your work permit and so forth. Now I want people to think, and maybe other people watching this video, do you really need to be physically in Switzerland? Now we can do a lot via online, and with technology has really developed in the last couple of years. Question would be, can you work for this person, doing the work for them, staying where you're at? So you don't have to worry. Then you're canceling out the whole staying in Switzerland thing, which becomes the problem with the work permit and the authorizations and so forth. So could you do the job where you are, long distance, especially if it's something where maybe it's you can work on video calls, or you can produce information, and maybe you just come to Switzerland very once in a blue moon to just check in, and just as a tourist basically, and you just check into the office. So maybe that's something to look at. So think about registering on a platform where you work like that via the platform, so you don't have to bother so much about the whole legal process of how do you get paid and all that. Another thing I'm going to add to that is there's a status in Switzerland that's called basically a portal type of thing, and I will post you the link to our partner with the club, because they offer those services where you're working for a company, let's say, and they take care of all your administration. So that's very useful for freelancers. But again, they would probably take mostly some European nationals and not non-Europeans, because they couldn't get the work permit for you. It's the same thing. So basically, yeah, with the non-EU, there's not a lot of flexibility in terms of working in Switzerland. If you are lucky enough to find someone who's interested, then I think the easiest thing would be to stay where you are, stay where they are, and there's just work through a platform or something like that. So you don't have to, they don't have to worry so much about getting you in and doing all the paperwork linked to that, which again doesn't fall, in my view, into freelancer. It falls more into being their employee, and so it's going to cause a problem at some point in the application process. You're not going to fit the criteria. So I hope this video was helpful. I talked about a lot of different things. This is complicated. It's basically a mix of employment law, which again, lawyers are qualified because they know exactly, especially based on which part of Switzerland, because every canton has their own rules. So if you're really serious about relocating to Switzerland and wanting to know the information, I would advise you make a phone call to, and I will post the link below to my contacts for employment law, so that you double check with them. But again, my first, I would say, answer to that email, and anyone who's interested in freelancing in Switzerland, be careful, because if you work full-time for an employer, again, you become an employee. And also be careful, you might not make it work out with the whole non-EU nationality. So again, check with a lawyer, check also platforms, a freelance platform that you could use to work maybe long distance, if that's possible, is an alternative to fully relocating, and maybe relocating later when you have an actual full-time permanent position. And as I say, things do change. Right now it's complicated for non-EU, but maybe in the future things will open up, or the Swiss are actually going through an aging process right now. A lot of people are aging, but there's not necessarily a lot of children, so maybe in a couple of years they will say we need more immigration, and they will open up a little bit more to non-EU. So that would be my last words. I hope this video was helpful. As usual, feel free to comment below, message me, and I will talk to you soon.